Hi there, this is Shauna from the Foil Fox, and I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I have a project that I'd like to share with you today. It is making this wonderful holiday card, and I will show you a variation later on. This is the holidays die set that I use, this penny black. I also use the Merry Edger that cuts out the word Merry, and it also will cut out the edge if that was what you'd like. And then it uses one of these frames. Now I'm showing you a couple of examples here. This one happens to be ornate stackers, ornate frames, I think actually. That would work great. Or this next one is called graceful stackers, and you can see there's lots of different frames that you can use for this one, or there's also, I think, antique frames that you could use. These are all penny black. For the papers, I'm going to be using some white cardstock with some a white cardstock card base, which is an A2 size. I also have a panel of Bristol paper that, since I'll be doing some ink blending, you know I mark them with a B so I can tell the difference. And then I have some white cardstock where I'll be cutting out the holly and the word Merry. So to get started, let's cut out two of the holly. And I'm also going to cut out one little end, and you'll see kind of the tip of the holly branch also, and you'll see that, what I mean. And then I'm going to cut out two of the Merry. Now this automatically cuts out the berries as well. And then here they all are. I'm going to just glue them together, stack them on top of one another, and then glue them together to give them just a little bit more strength. And you can see that I have that little section down there by my hand that I have a little, the little tip, and that's what I mean by having a little bit of holly and holly few of the end leaves that I'll be using as well. And I'm stacking the Merry here. I'm not going to stack the berries, and I'm not going to stack the smaller piece of the holly. Now for the berries, I'm going to just paint those really quick. I'm using, these happen to be Altenew pan watercolors, and they work great for this. And I really like this set because it has just a nice color palette that you can really get any color you want out of it. But you can use any watercolors that you'd like. I'm first using a little bit of yellow and oranges for these berries, and I'm going to put it all over the berries. And then I'm going to go back over it and use some pinks, some lighter and darker pinks. And then to create some shadows and also some variation in the berries, making some darker berries, I'm going to be using kind of that burgundy color. I like those colors in this palette. I'll be listing, by the way, all of the supplies I'm using, everything. There'll be a link down below, and you can go and check out every supply that I used. And you can also, you'll be able to see a few more close-ups and a lot more inspiration of other projects there as well. But you can see I'm just letting a little bit of that yellow and orange peek through. I've got some of the pink in there, and then I'm using the darker color for the shadows and for creating a little bit darker berry, kind of the ones that are behind. So here they are, all colored, and they're dry. And I have, this is Crystal Glaze by Sizzix, but you can use, I just showed you that glimmer paste. You can use anything that, you know, has a little bit of a, it's kind of a gel. I know that Gina K has one too. I'll list them all in our supply list so you can check out all the different choices that there are. And I'm just kind of smoothing it over all of these white pieces. And then I'm going to take some glitter. This happens to be Heidi Swap glitter, but you know the Lawn Fawn chunky glitter works really well. Again, I'll put that in the supply list. Any of those kinds of glitters that are kind of chunky will work very well for this. And I'm just sprinkling those about. And you can see I put a piece of paper down on my work surface because this gets a little sticky and I didn't want it to stick all over my work surface there. Now I'm using a little cruddy brush and I'm brushing on a little bit of this crystal glaze, just so that, because I didn't want to cover the whole thing. And then I'm going to use some of the glitter that I have already on my sheet, because I don't want to have it too terribly glittery, and that way I can just use a little bit of this that was left over. I'm going to set those aside to dry. Now I have a piece of my Bristol paper. I've got 3 distress inks: crushed olive, evergreen bough, and faded jeans. Now I'm going to I added some of the crushed olive. Now I'm adding some of that evergreen. I really like evergreen because it does have the greens and blues in it, and I really like that color. And I think it goes nicely with the crushed olive. And then to darken it up, I'm going to be using the faded blue jeans. Just on those edges is the only place I'm adding that darker color in. I want to keep it fairly light. I want it, fairly soft. But I'm just going to add it in until I am happy with it. And I don't want to go too heavy-handed. I did that with one card, and it just was too intense for me. I just wanted that very, very soft color. Now that I have that all on there, and I'm taking just a paintbrush with clear water and splattering it all over it, and then blotting it off with my paper towel. These are water reactive, so it works beautifully. Then I smushed some of the evergreen bough and the faded jeans onto my work surface. I loosened it up with some water, and now I'm splattering those 2 colors on the panel as well. I like that darker color, how that goes on. Now I let that dry really well, and now I have my frame that I'm going to cut out, and I have a very thin piece of foam. I'm going to put that very thin piece I like very much because it just pops it up a little. It works out wonderfully. I'm going to glue it to the back, and then I'm going to run it through, cut out this shape, running it through my die cutting machine. So here it is. This is a slick way when you have an irregular border to be able to get that. Now I put some anti-static powder down, and I have just some little small snowflake stamps that I found in my stash. This is not something you have to do. I'm using Versamark ink here, and I'm just stamping some of these. I'll be using Hero Arts Sparkle embossing powder because it's clear, but with a little bit of sparkle. And I do like having this little extra detail, but you don't need to use that at all. I don't know even if the camera is picking it up much, but I do like to have just that little extra detail that in real life you do see that and kind of in the background. So I have heat set those so they're heat embossed now. Now I'm going to take my trusty Dr. P.H. Martin bleed proof white ink. Love this ink, love, love, love it, because it is very opaque. It goes on so nicely, and I'm just going to splatter some on there as well, giving it kind of a snowy appearance. I think it really adds. Now I'm going to go back at the very end here and make some of these dots a little bit bigger, just with my paintbrush. I like to have some larger snow flakes coming down, so I just randomly make those dots a little bit bigger. Then after it dried, you didn't see it dried, but it got all dry. I'm going to put the glue all over the edges of this and some in the center, and I'm going to glue it to my card base. Glue is nice because it allows you to slip a little bit. You've got just a little bit of time. I'm not even going to say a few minutes, but maybe a minute to slip that around. And now I'm going to just arrange all of our parts together. And you can see there's our little extra piece there. And then our berries. Um, and I have more berries than I'll probably use, but I do like to have a few extras just in case I want to put them in there. And this is where I kind of fiddle around until I get it the way that I'd like it. And now that I think I got it where I want it, I'm going to take it all apart again and then glue everything down. You can see I don't glue all the way to the ends of each of those leaves because I don't like it being completely stuck down. I like a little bit of lift to it that it just naturally has. Now, once I put this one in place, I'll glue down the Mary and the last bit here to get the Mary in. And then once this is glued down, we're going to go for the berries, and then we'll be all done. So this is a fast card to do. I think it has a lot of impact, and I really enjoyed doing this and just adding this little splash of red in there. I toyed with having them be all white or silvery, but in the end I decided that I really wanted it to have this little splash of color. Even though I've got a little bit of color in the background. Now I have a few berries left over, just as I suspected I would, because I just never know what I was going to do. Still trying it out, but I think I'll leave them off. So here it is, all completed. It's a fast card. I think it's really pretty. I think these new things from Penny Black are just marvelous. And I really have enjoyed making this card. Now I made another card, and that is very, very similar to this one, but it uses the pine branch, which is also a Penny Black. So you see it here. This is the card. I use the pine branch, and it has the pine cones, as you can see. And I use the Mary and the same frame that I cut out. So you can see here is the die set. Colored the pine cones with some watercolor, the brown watercolor. And then the background, I used tumbled glass and a little bit of the faded blue jeans on there, and did it exactly the way I did the other card. I just changed out the pine branch and got a little bit different look. I don't know what one you like best, but you'll have to let me know. I would love to know, in fact. And I want to just review, I used the Holly Days, the Penny Black Holly Days, the Mary Edgers, and the Pine Branch, all of them Penny Black. But I used those other supplies, and you'll see them in the link down below. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that it gave you a little bit of inspiration to get started on your holiday cards, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.